Hello, I'm Peter Lansett. Welcome to the Lansett Hypnosis podcast, where we'll be looking at all things related to trance work, transformation, and anything and everything that can help you change and transform your life to become the ideal you. Okay, so that's who we are now. Let's get this show on the road. Now, a couple of days ago, I recorded and published a podcast about clean and dirty goals. We're talking about goals that fail, and we do this at the end of January because lots of New Year's resolutions fail. About 80 to 90%, they reckon. So we thought we'd talk about that. But it just occurred to me that there's something that we could have added. I mean, the show ran for 40 minutes, which is as long as we wanted it to go for. But I've been thinking that I should talk about the reasons why goals fail. And I'm just going to give you the top five, what I consider to be the top five reasons why goals fail. And, you can then start looking for answers and finding ways of getting around that. So the first thing we'll look at, why goals fail. First reason I've got is when you get stuck on the content of the goal. In other words, where you think you ought to be headed to get where you want to be. And remember, in the previous podcast, there was the IT freelancer example. I explained how I'd become obsessed with the idea of becoming an IT freelancer. And I did it, because the fact is I made some poor choices and I'd lost a lot of money, and it's like, this is going to be a great way. So anyway, I did it, but I didn't allow the true goal, my internal true goal, to take place. If I'd stayed there, if I'd become obsessed about staying in that kind of work and just becoming more of an IT professional to get even more out of it, I would have been miserable. I would have been de-energized, more unenthused, and possibly losing contracts at the end because, well, my work wouldn't be good enough at that point and I'd lose everything. And why? Well, it would have happened because I would have become obsessed about how the goal should be, rather than turning it over to my unconscious mind and saying to it, hey, this is what's important. This is the true purpose. I want a life of excitement, adventure. I want to meet cool people. I want an intellectual challenge. I want to be creating something worthwhile, solving problems. That's what I want. I happen to think that being an IT professional, and an IT freelancer might be it. But if you can give me something better than that, go for it. And then you allow your unconscious mind to run, and it will latch on to your true desires, this idea of wanting a life of excitement, adventure, etc., and it would find other ways that you could do it, or it would find ways of making the goal that you do have more interesting. But if the goal has failed, it's because obviously you're not in tune with your true internal desire, what you really want out of your life. The second reason that goals typically fail is lack of energy. If you've got no motivation to do something, if you get slowed down by something, something standing in the way of the steps you need to take to achieve your goal. If you think about your goals and you're thinking, oh God, I've got to do this. I mean, I want to do it because I want to get to that goal, but I just don't have the energy for it. Well, if you're feeling like that, then there's a problem with desire. It may be that you have the wrong goal, that you could find a different goal. You've got to go back to your true purpose. On the other hand, it might just be a question of effort because things become easier and more natural and in flow, it doesn't mean that you don't have to put energy into them. Sometimes you can think, oh, this is all working out fine, and find yourself thinking, well, I don't have to put too much effort into this. I don't have to do this. I don't have to do that. It will just naturally happen. And then you suddenly find, oh, it's not happening. So, you've got to be more focused, get your desire sorted out, and then just test the goal itself. The third reason, conscious interference. Number three, then, is this idea of the law of reverse effect, which states that, the more you want something, the harder it's going to be to get it. Simply because if your conscious mind, this mind that is your identity, your face on the world, if that starts interfering with the way that you're going to get to a goal, and it starts trying to do things that really your unconscious mind was meant to be doing, it starts getting in the way. It starts interfering and ruining the job. Now, bear in mind that the conscious mind will struggle to do anything like this. It can only handle 7 plus or minus 2 pieces of information at any one time, whereas the unconscious mind that should be doing the job for you can handle limitless amounts of information, can do so many different things simultaneously. So it should be the unconscious mind doing it, but if the conscious mind's got in the way, it's ruining it. So if it's interference that's really standing in the way of your goal, of you getting to your goal, and why your goal is failing, if it's interference, you're going to have to find some mechanisms, some ways of getting past that interference so that you don't activate this law of reverse effect. Now, reason 4, doubts. We have doubts, which, it can be very interesting. Doubting means that you've activated a gatekeeper again. Doubting is the gatekeeper. The gatekeeper is this conscious thought that says, oh, you don't need to be doing that because you're going to be unhappy if it doesn't work. And it will come out of its slumber and it says, oh, here's an objection, or, let's get rid of this. Doubts put in a contradictory message. Let's face it, as soon as you've done some great work and a doubt comes in, what happens? Well, you have a message that says, you can achieve this, you're doing really well. But then the doubt comes in and you get another message that says, you can't achieve this, it's not going to work. And they cancel each other out. So you're just left with, whatever it was you had before. So you'll have to figure out a way to overcome doubts as well. Reason 5 is the one that Julie and I spoke about in the podcast the other day, the one we were talking about goals and why they're important. And these are internal conflicts, which we said were dirty goals. You have a big blueprint for your life. There's lots of things that your unconscious mind wants and needs to do to protect you and look after you. And, the unconscious mind really can help you to get where you want to go. But it has to be in alignment with your true desires. And if your goal is not in alignment, if it conflicts, then you have a dirty goal. And let's go back to the example that we gave on the podcast that we recorded the other day. Let's say that you wanted to be slim and healthy and fit, but for some reason, something happened in your past, and you have an idea that you've programmed into your unconscious mind that slim and healthy, fit people get picked on in some way. Perhaps people are jealous and envious and talk down at them and talk about them as though they're nothing special. And your unconscious mind now has that idea, and it wants you to be safe. So your unconscious mind says, well, it's much safer to be fat then. So guess what? If you try to change that blueprint and just be slim and fit and healthy, it's like telling the unconscious mind, I want to be unsafe, because your unconscious mind thinks that becoming trim and slim and healthy is not safe. It's, people are going to pick on you. People are going to talk about you in the wrong way and so on. So it says, your unconscious mind says, no way are you going to do those things to get trim. I'm going to look after you. I'm going to keep you nice and fat so that you can be nice and safe. Well, logically, that doesn't make any sense. But the unconscious mind reasons through a different set of logic, not the logic that the conscious mind does too. So, yeah, that does sound strange. But dirty goals are that. It's where you have a goal in mind, one that actually would be really good for you, but your unconscious mind has at some point been programmed into not wanting you to achieve that particular goal or to take those particular steps that you would need to take to achieve that goal. It has a reason for going against it and saying, I'm not going to do it. And that reason is because your unconscious mind wants to keep you safe, well protected. It wants you to be happy. And if it's been programmed by you, whether, even at a subconscious level without you knowing that you've done it, if it's been programmed in that way, then you've got to change that blueprint. Now, there are ways of getting around all of these reasons for goals to fail, and you can find them out. Self-hypnosis is the key. You hypnotize yourself to do something. You hypnotize yourself to block it. I mean, the way that you've got to get around it is to create a goal by finding your true purpose and so on. I mean, I run courses on this. I run a 5-step course where you learn self-hypnosis, you learn how to go into self-hypnosis, to go into a trance, how to use that trance. And there are very specific ways. It's not as simple as just saying, well, I'm now in a trance. You have to use it in very, very specific ways to get the results that you want to get quickly and accurately. Anyway, I'll leave it at that. If anybody wants to know more about how to perform self-hypnosis to make those alchemical changes, those transformational changes that lead you from being where you are now to being the ideal you, just get in touch with me. You'll find all my details in the information below this podcast. Anyway, I'll leave it at that for now. Goodbye, and I'll catch you on the next podcast. You take it easy now. Bye-bye.